guys, what is up? My name is Megan. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Hope you guys are doing well and staying safe. Today we are here for another round of unhauling books. If you haven't seen my previous unhaul, which was a pretty massive one, I'll leave it in the cards for you guys. I think you guys seem to have enjoyed that one. Today we are here with a smaller scale unhaul, but an unhaul, at least we're making progress here, folks. If you haven't been following my journey on unhauling, every time I read a book that is less than a 4-star or a book I don't see myself rereading or being really proud of having in my collection, it's gotta go. I'm moving in July and we're not bringing all of the books with me. So without further ado, let's just hop on in. The first book I will be unhauling is The Rest of the Story by Sarah Dessen. This is actually because I have an extra hardcover copy of this and I love the hard copy more and it's signed, and so this one I'm giving away to like a thrift store once they open up again. However, I do want to say that this one I gave 4 or even maybe 5 stars. Absolutely adored it, so it has nothing to do with it. It's just that I had purchased this copy for very cheap, but I ended up getting the hard one in the Indigo book box, and so we're giving away the extra copy. I don't need 2 copies on my shelf. The next one I have is Tamarind and the Star of Isha. This is a middle grade novel which I gave 3 out of 5 stars to. I believe this one is featured in my Believe-a-thon vlogs, which happened back in November. It was a fine story, however, I didn't really like the writing style or most of the plot. I liked that it was featuring a lot of mythology, however, it just kind of fell flat. 3-star, not bad, not great, so I don't want it on my shelf anymore. Then we have The Strangers, another book that I featured in my Believe-a-thon vlogs, which, another disappointment. This I gave 3 stars. In reality, maybe more of a 2.5. However, I tend to be a little nicer to the middle grade novels because I'm not the intended audience. This is the story of 3 different siblings, and when they come back from school and their mother's acting up, turns out 3 children with the same names, birth dates, and ages as them have gone missing, and then their mom leaves on a work trip and they have to figure out what exactly is happening. And I think this felt like it had middle book syndrome when it's the first book in a series. I didn't really like the mystery. It was so predictable and I was just not a fan. Then we have a graphic novel, which is Snot Girl Volume 1, which I'm really happy I bought at a used price because graphic novels can be expensive. I don't recommend this one. This is a story of a girl who has severe allergies. She's like a fashion blogger. She's a terrible person. She has terrible friends, and she's on test run trials for this medication, and she doesn't know if she killed this other blogger or it's hallucinations, if this is the blogger dead or alive. We don't know, and I don't care to know. I think the only positive in this was the art style. The story was confusing. The synopsis kind of lies to you, honestly, and I was just so incredibly disappointed. I gave this one 2 stars, so no point in keeping it. Then we have The Boy, the Boat, and the Beast, which is another middle grade novel. This one I just completely DNF'd. I tried reading it for Believe-a-thon, could not get into it for the life of me, and so I will be donating it. I haven't heard anyone speak about this book, and I kind of understand why. The writing style in here is super confusing. I hated the atmosphere, and the main character is referred to as like a third person, like someone is telling you the story about this boy, and I'm just not a fan of that writing style, and it's not for me. Another book I DNF'd is The Tourist Attraction by Sarah Morgan Taylor. I read the companion to this and really enjoyed it, but this one I could not bring myself to finish. I don't care. I don't like the characters. I think that they weren't really fleshed out, and so it was very hard to believe in their chemistry or romance at all. And yeah, I just don't like this quite as much as a lot of the other romances I have on my shelf, and so I hope someone else picks it up and is very happy to read it. Another middle grade has to be The Strange World Travel Agencies by Andy Lipinski. This is more of a me than the book problem. I just don't really like where the story went, and I just think that it was a little bit too draggy. Like, I don't think enough happened in this book for me to be like, oh my god, I really like this and want to continue on with the series. The premise of this is interesting. It follows a main character who finds this Strange World Travel Agency shop, and it's just a bunch of suitcases that go to like parallel universes. I don't know, there was just something about this book that I wasn't a fan of. I know a lot of people love this. Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin really enjoys this. I'm just not the biggest fan, and so I don't see a point keeping it on my shelf. Another middle grade book which everyone seems to love that I am in the minority of, Green Glass House by Kate Milford. I think that this book does some good things. It talks about adoption, it talks about diversity and the fact that sometimes when a child is adopted they don't look exactly like their parents. There's also the mention of a child maybe wanting to know what would have happened if they had their biological parents, how their life could have been different. It's just not the story for me. I think that the mystery was very boring, that the side characters dragged. I didn't really care for a main character, and the atmosphere kind of lacked for me. I was told this book was something, and I think it just lacked, and it didn't meet the expectations, and so maybe it's a me thing, maybe it's the book. I don't really know. Another book I tried so hard to love, and this one is collecting dust because it's one of the first books I put in this Unhaul pile. The Beautiful by Renee Audier. I had purchased this because of Olivia at Olivia Reads a Latte. She raves about this book. She reread this book so many times. This is a young adult vampire in New Orleans kind of situation. I don't like Renee Audier's writing, and that's not on her, that's on me, but I can't stand it. It's way too fluffy, it takes too long to tell a story, and it's not engaging in any manner for me, and so I will not be reading more of her books. I need to stop trying, at least when it comes to the new adult genre. It's not for me, even though vampires are really cool and I'm really interested in vampires. This one was not made for me. It's totally fine, and Olivia and I do have very similar taste in some things and very different taste in others. This one stands in the difference, and I could not finish it. Another middle grade book, Thejumbies by Tracy Batiste. This is a middle grade monthly book I read, which is a book club hosted by Gavin at How to Train Your Gavin, as well as Jade at Jade Where We Reads. And I love both of these people, and most of their suggestions really work for me. This one, though, not a fan. This is like, there's this Jumbie in the woods, and they're like mean creatures in the town, and there's just a lot of things. I did like the folklore elements in here, but the main characters and the friendship elements in here were really weird. Like, some of the people were friends and I thought they were enemies. I thought they were bullying each other, but apparently they're friends, and it just lacked in a lot of departments. I think that the writing didn't flow properly. It was kind of choppy and just not my favorite. I think I gave this one 3 stars. Again, I don't rate my middle grade the same way as I do other books, but I don't want it on my shelf. Then we have Ship It by Britta Lundlin. This I purchased when I was in my fandom stages, and then I tried reading this one. Couldn't get into it for the life of me and just stopped trying after some point. It might be for some people, but I've seen a lot of terrible reviews about this one, and when you've tried a book like 2 or 3 times and you still can't get into it, no matter the mindset you're in, I think it's an indication that the book isn't for you. I'm still looking for more books that talk about fandoms, kind of like the Geekerella series, like the Once Upon a Con series, or some books like that. This didn't fulfill what I thought it would, and so I don't need it. Then we have this one, which is The Guy on the Right by Kate Stewart, which I love supporting indie authors, but their paperbacks can be a little bit expensive, and I was sure I was going to love this. I've seen so many bigger booktubers talk about this, and this, I would recommend you go watch my worst books of 2020 because that made it on the list. This is a very problematic novel. There's problematic elements when it comes to Black individuals. It becomes problematic because there's jokes about Hitler in here. There's just so many things. Uses of drugs that are very questionable. I don't mind when drugs are in books, but the way that it was handled in here, very poor, and there's just a lot of stuff in here. I also talk about this book a lot more in depth in my I Read Romance vlog, the first vlog I made for that series, which I can link for you guys, but this was a hot mess and I don't recommend. The last book in my pile, I told you guys this would be shorter, is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. this one has just done it too for some reason. This was not a bad book. I think it's very educational. This is like literary fiction, and we consider what it can be to be a black woman, and then there's talks about performative activism, and I think this book holds a lot of value. However, I do think that it's worth passing along, and so maybe someone else at my thrift store can find this and read it. I don't think I need to reread it, nor would I necessarily want to, but I think it's worth a lot, but I don't see myself keeping it on my bookshelf. I think it's a great book to like read and pass along so that someone else can educate themselves and think through what this book talks about. This is a fiction novel, but it does bring a lot to the table. So those were all the books that I had to unhaul for you guys today. Again, this should be something that's a little bit more regular on my channel. Really hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye guys, happy reading!